Football right now, really. I mean, Isaiah Ford's caught a lot of footballs, and he's one of the top receivers in the ACC. Hodges certainly creates unique matchup problems with his size. And Phillips had a big game last week, catching the first touchdown of the year, and he's an excellent slot receiver. He's done a really, really good job. And certainly Gerard Evans did a really good job finding those guys last week. They ended up having they got off to a little bit of a sluggish start, but when they got it rolling, man, they got it going, man. And he spread the ball around. They all got touches, and that seems to be kind of part of their MO to get guys touches. And then they did a good job.
Given the vantage point at Bristol from the press box, are there any concerns about any communication issues?
No, from the side it's fine. If I were sitting in the end zone, I wouldn't want an end zone seat if the ball were on the other side. You have that big giant scoreboard in your way. But I feel like our research has told us we're going to be fine and not have any problems, and we're behind their bench. So we should be able to see personnel substitutions and things along those lines pretty well.
In the opening game, how did you evaluate how well you all did in terms of being disruptive, aggressive, that kind of thing?
Well, the numbers would say that we weren't very disruptive. We didn't have any sacks. But I think that's part of App State's game plan. When it got to third down, I think they threw screens majority of the time. And really the bottom line is getting off the field on third down. And we were 10 out of 13 on third down stops. So that's a positive, whether it's a sack, an incomplete pass, or a tackle on a screen. So that's the most important thing. We had 6 tackles for loss, and I thought we could have had more. I think we had some blitzes where we could have finished plays, including the 1 touchdown pass. We weren't clean on those, and we'll make that improvement this week. We'll make those corrections. And I said this the other day when we talked about evaluating good defense in today's 2016 modern spread football. It's really about getting third down stops. It's about being good in the red zone. And I thought the two big drives were after the punt return. I thought we stepped up and did a really good job in the red zone. 2 tackles for loss then, made him kick a long field goal. And then obviously in the overtime, I thought that was obviously the game changer. And then we talked about takeaways. And Cam Sutton, who's one of the leaders and veteran players on the team, came up with a big interception when we were down by either 10 or 7, and really kind of changed the momentum of things at that point.
Bob, do you expect to have Shy, Alexis, Kyle, Daryl, all those guys available this week?
Shy's practiced more and more. Alexis has practiced a lot. He's still learning the defense, before we put too much on him. And who was the other person?
Kyle Phillips and Daryl Taylor.
Yeah, those guys deserve the opportunity to play, and probably we're going to need those guys this week and moving forward for sure.
Had they just not earned it last week?
No, they earned it. It was, they need to play a little bit more. Yeah.
Troy Lewis was listed ahead of Courtney Rain, the defensive end, and then Foreman had a call to just talk about those 2 situations.
Actually, I didn't know that. To me, I keep saying it. Everybody worries about who's the guy listed as the starter. It's the guy who's in at the end of the game that's the guy I'm worried about. I mean, we talk about finishing. But, Corey or LaTroy, I have tremendous confidence in both those guys. I wouldn't call the game any different when either of those guys were in the game. Jonathan got a handful of snaps. And to the last question, I think DT and Kyle both deserve the opportunity to play, and it'll be nice to have Shy out there as well.
On that.
Hold on. And the nickel position, I don't call the game any differently whether Rashawn or Malik's in the game. And I've said a couple times, to me, I think the 2 of those guys combined give us a good situation. And I think one of those guys, as the season goes on, will end up ultimately emerging.
On that note of who kind of finishes the game, Martin played a lot in the second half. Obviously, he didn't start the game, but, what have you seen from him maybe this week in practice to potentially earn even more PT?
He had a great interception yesterday in practice. And where he really stood out, I thought he was one of our better players on special teams. He had a tackle inside the 10-yard line on a kickoff, and his attitude's been really positive, and he's kind of had a whatever I can do to help the team, approach to things. So, obviously, in a game like this where we're expecting 90 to 100 snaps, to expect Emmanuel and Cam and TK and Micah to play every single snap would be probably an error. So we need Justin to contribute and take the next step like he did last week.